I'm going to do a voiceover for this part to make what's happening a little easier to follow. So what I'm doing is sandwiching 2 layers of scrap Tolex between the lid and the bottom of the box. This is so when the hinges are fully installed and the top and bottom of the box have been wrapped in Tolex, the lid will still sit properly. I'm going to cut most of this out with a trim router, but I like to do a knife wall and pre-score before, especially with plywood. I think it makes a cleaner mortise. This next part is for fitting the lock mechanism. I screwed up when I sized this box and the trim router will not fit inside. Consequently, I had to fit the lock in the old-fashioned way. I do a single coat of shellac to seal the plywood before the Tolex process starts. I cut the Tolex large enough to wrap around the edges. Then I trace the box with a pencil. You don't want to use Sharpie for this, it'll be visible through the Tolex. I mix some cheap acrylic paint to closely match the color Tolex I'm using. I use this to paint where my cut lines are going to be. That way, any stray threads from the white fabric backing of the Tolex won't be visible in the cut. I also paint parts of the box where it's possible that the wood would show through after I cut the seams. This is more insurance than anything, because hopefully the seams won't have any gaps. Contact cement is applied to both the Tolex and the box sides. The contact cement is ready when it's just a little bit tacky to the touch. After the J-roller, you want to let this dry for a little while Tolex side up. If you put the Tolex down on the work surface, as the contact cement dries, it will sweat through the outer skin of the Tolex. After splitting, the hinge halves are installed on the lid and the bottom of the box. Then I filed the screw heads flat. I cut small slits at the base of each hinge lobe. A 2 mm thick piece of aluminum is used to make the perfect gap. Any closer to the base of the hinge lobe, and the Tolex will be stretched too tight. Then I carefully cut away any excess. I pre-cut away the corner excess using a straight edge. For my first corner, I cut it flush with the edge of the box. For the adjacent corner, I offset the cut, leaving me with the tab to wrap around the edge. With the sides neatly trimmed, I put the contact cement on both surfaces. Now you can see why I cut the shallow rabbets on the corners of the box. The tabs I left in the Tolex were slightly longer than the rabbets, so a little cleanup is necessary. You really want to take care to get the miters lined up as perfectly as possible. Any gap between the two sides will be pretty obvious. To finish the corners, I trim them flush with scissors. I'm going to use super glue to bond the edge, but first I mask it. I do this to keep it as clean as possible. The super glue will dry white, so any that seeps out onto the exterior part of the Tolex will be visible. A tiny amount is all it takes to bond that edge. Lastly, I fit the lock. The lock will overlap the Tolex by a small amount. The Tolex will compress slightly under the lock, allowing for a nice clean installation. With the hinge pins temporarily installed, it's time to test the lock.